Thank you, sir. Let's see what we're going to be chatting about today. What does it take to build a headphone company?
Oh, yeah.
That's a
Like
question.
from scratch?
Yeah.
Apparently.
Is that like building a headphone?
What does it take? Well, it depends on how good you want it to be, I suppose. If you don't care, not that much.
Well, I'd
Plenty
say
of people have done it.
a lot of research. Because initially, you know nothing about the industry. You know, you don't know what all the players, what's
Depends
the
on how you
best.
started. A lot of these guys
know.
started as headphone enthusiasts. And so they started with modifying their own headphones for themselves. And some people said, hey, I want to try that out. And they started to realize maybe there's a business model here. And they started modding other people's headphones. That's pretty common in this
Sounds
industry,
like Dan
right?
the man he's
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
That's an easy. There's a lot of people doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, some have come and gone.
There's a
but,
big change from going from that to making a company that makes headphones.
That's
Yeah.
a really big difference.
That's a
and
big
I don't
step.
think the average person appreciates that. So selling a couple mods here and there, that's great and all. That's wonderful. But
I mean, you're taking
transitioning
someone's
that,
existing design
Yeah.
and just saying, oh, I'm going to throw some felt on it or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like child's play.
that compared to moving to the end game of, say, making your own driver
Yeah.
and actually shipping your own
that's-
product where you're manufacturing most of the things yourself custom, not just buying stuff
Right.
and putting it together, that's a really, really big difference.
Initially, when I first started thinking about doing this, remember I got some drivers, some Mylar type little speaker drivers from
Yep.
wherever,
Yep.
probably China, Asia, somewhere.
You thought they would work.
Yeah, I thought, oh, maybe we could make something out of this with, you know,
No.
it was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
You
that was
just
like a
put
week.
hook these up and play these things like, oh my God, they're bad.
Bad.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no way you could fix this. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what we do, you know.
The effort required to make something tolerable out of a off-the-shelf driver like that, like a standard mid-range couple dollar driver, it's really challenging. You can make something okay.
Well, let's just say it'll work, but it wasn't
Yeah.
the sound we were after anywhere near
Yeah.
it. It didn't have any refinement to it.
If you
It
want
just sounded like-
exceptional, you're not going to get it very easily by buying an off-the-shelf driver.
Yeah, which led us on the path we were on. So creating a headphone company out of that.
Yeah.
Well, it takes money, time, talent.
Time.
Is that MTT? Maybe you could put that in a different order. Time,
think it's mostly-
more time.
Time.
Mostly drive, really. If you're not excited enough about it, if you're not driven, motivated to work to the end goal of, say, creating a very high-end headphone or whatever it is you're looking to do, I don't think you're going to succeed. I think it's very, very challenging to do so. And so the number of failures you're going to see, I think, are much more than the average person would anticipate. Because most people, they look at a finished product, they say, oh, I see how this was made. It's easy, it's clear. But they don't see the failures that happened before that. They don't see the multiple times that you tried and didn't work out, the money invested in things that didn't work, the time spent on things that just didn't actually go
Yeah.
anywhere, right? That's the real challenge, figuring out what to do, how to do it, how to be able to do it repeatably, reliably in
We've seen
production.
some new players come in with the headphones too, and you can look at their product and go, yeah, we know where they are. We
Yeah.
can see where they are and what
Yeah.
they're going through. We already know. We've been there.
Yep.
You know, you can look at the headband and say, oh, we know where that came from or something like that, or we know who made that. You know, the ear pads and going, yeah, that's real thick ear pads. All right, yep, trying to solve a problem there. So, you know, it's like you look at it, you go, yeah, they got
Sure.
a few years before they get to a well-refined product, you know. And I'm not knocking them. Everyone's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
We did too.
Of course.
We rock through ear pad materials and stuff like that too. Same deal, you know. But yeah, I mean, in terms of creating a company like we've created here, which is still a very small company, but you know, top shelf products. It's like you said, it's a lot of time,
Well, yeah.
a lot of work.
Now that you mention it, though, I was just thinking, yeah, the initial prototyping, like we went through just
Well, this
hundreds.
is before we knew how to make a driver.
Yeah, we didn't know.
like
Yeah, when we
had.
were figuring it out.
Yeah, we were driverless.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we never
That's the hardest way to do it.
we never like got like deterred. You know, it was like we
That's
would go
true.
through like 10 in a day. It's like, yeah, we'll do
Right.
more tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
It was never like, oh man, I'm never gonna figure this out.
I know the feeling.
There was never really a
There was
thought.
no end in
It
sight.
just took a long time.
Yeah.
We just worked at it
Yeah.
every day.
To some extent, knowing when to stop is challenging too. Because if you have that mentality where everything always can be improved, and generally it really can, when do you stop? When is enough good enough?
Yeah. I think I was the one that was running out of patience. at
It was
some
you.
point.
You was
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was like a year and a half. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
We need to start selling something here because this is a year and a half after we started developing the
Yeah.
driver, and you and me were on it full time. I mean, I think it was a good year and a half. Before that, it was more part time, and it took that long to finish the 1266.
Well beyond full time.
Yeah, it was more than full time.
Yeah.
I was dealing with it at home too.
So when we were developing our driver, we managed to stumble into quite a few predicaments, right? Roadblocks and hurdles and whatnot
Yeah,
to
a few
overcome.
thousand.
Yep. And it turns out we found very interesting ways to overcome them. which
Yeah.
I guess that's the nature of coming up with
Creativity.
your own thing. And that's for me, that's a really nice thing about designing your own driver, designing your own stuff, actually making the stuff. You could do whatever you want to accomplish the end goal. But there's a huge, huge challenge with that too, because the effort required to figure out what your best solution is to accomplish your goal, that's remarkable stuff. Because when you're buying from somebody else, this is already mostly done for you, and you're working around the existing problems. But when you're making the thing yourself, you have your own problems. And so you're balancing, you're having this trade-off with whatever problems are based in reality that you have to deal with, how to mitigate them to work towards the most favorable solution. That's
Or your goal.
really challenging. Yeah, it depends on your goal, but you're always dealing with reality. There's always physical constraints. You always have actual things that are just either impractical, not cost effective to do, or just not sustainable, reliable, robust in production. And figuring out what those are, being able to push those limits to the edge, that's really challenging.
Yeah.
The
Especially
time-
if your goal is perfection.
Right.
That's where at some point at some point you got to put the brakes on it. And I gotta say, okay, this is good enough. This is really good, and so which
People sometimes focus on the wrong things, I think. People always focus on things like diaphragm mass, and they always think that that's the most critical thing. They always optimize for
Well,
diaphragm
marketing
mass.
does
Like that's
that.
for the
You know,
marketing,
that
yeah.
they
Like in
started-
reality.
a couple companies started doing that thinness thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I already knew where that was going. I saw that 100 times over in the industry with all kinds of things, not just material. I'm talking about in the
Yeah.
audio industry.
I guess they don't actually state mass; they say thickness.
Back
but-
when everyone ran an AM
near
radio, right? It was the number of tubes in your
Yeah,
radio.
yeah.
They only used 5 of the tubes to hear the radio.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
But they
megapixels
sold
in
10
cameras.
and 15 tube radios that they just they put tubes in there and they just glowed.
Right.
They didn't do anything, but people thought the radio was better because it had more tubes.
It's kind of the same
You know?
thing, yeah. Because you see cameras now in
It's marketing.
smartphones, 100 megapixel smartphone cameras,
Yeah.
not intrinsically superior
Yeah,
to a
right.
lower resolution
Right.
one.
Yeah, because you got all kinds of other things happening.
A lot
in
of
that
problems,
camera.
right? There's
It's
reasons
not just
why.
the pixel count.
There's reasons why you don't have million megapixel smartphones. It's not necessarily better,
Right.
right? And there's reasons why you don't have super, super, super thin diaphragms.
Yeah.
There's always trade-offs with reality. And so if you look at it from the system approach like we do, where you're trying to achieve a desired result, we want to make a headphone that works really well. We're not trying to make the thinnest, lightest, lowest mass. Like we want to make it work, right? It needs to work. We care about the performance. And to that end result, sometimes you do sacrifice in one small regard a little bit, but what you gain in another regard from optimizing this one characteristic improves your end result.
It's also got to work within available systems that are out there.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's initially what we ran into. I mean, there was one amp when
Well,
we first
yeah.
started doing
Yeah.
this, right?
Well, there's actually
That just happened to be in prototype phase when we started having drivers available. to
well,
listen
that's
to.
true. But there is
Al with
another
Alex.
angle though that you're not considering.
Yeah.
Is you got to know when to cut your losses, so to speak.
Yeah.
If you're going down a path that you don't just keep trying to fix a problem, you need to be like, all right,
Yeah.
abandon that altogether.
Right.
Let's try something different. 'Cause
That's
we
true.
had a few of those where it was like, we just can't make this work
few
like
too
this.
many.
Yeah. So you got to know when to
Yeah, we
stop.
threw a lot of money after good after bad but that was a learn. I chalked it up
That's-
to
yeah,
learning.
yeah.
It was an education.
Yeah.
That you can't get any other way.
Yeah.
And you do that. That's true. That you got to be willing to go through all that.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to go through all that. You can't be a quitter.
Yeah.
You have to be very self motivated to deal with that. Extremely self motivated. Otherwise, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Yeah.
It's just or it just is going to come out to be a stellar product.
So back to the initial question. What does it take to make a headphone company? That's a tricky one because it really depends on what kind of result you want to achieve. But I think you need a lot of motivation. That's number one. You need to want to do what it is you're doing, no doubt. And so if you're really motivated for it, that's a huge help. Experience, that helps, but you can't really gain that one so readily, right?
Yeah.
You could start fiddling around with stuff, screw around with it, see if you could improve it, change it the way you want. Understanding the industry always helps, but you're always dealing with the physical constraints of reality. And so the existing hardware out there, the amplifiers and stuff, DACs, whatever, the gear used to drive your headphone in this case, that's critical too, because that's the reality for your customer. People are going to actually have to use the product, right? And so you need to understand how they're going to use it, why they're going to want to use it, what situations they're going to want to use it in, and you need to be able to make sure that they can do what you expect of them with the
Best as
available stuff
possible.
on the actual on the market, right? They could buy stuff that'll make your thing work. Because if they can't, what's the point? Otherwise, then you would have to make it. All kinds of
And
challenges.
as your
there,
company
too.
grows, that's a learning curve too. Learning
Yeah.
what the customer, not necessarily what the customer needs as much as or wants, but what works with your customer base.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, oh, us, we don't have $300 headphones, so we have really expensive product, and so you got to understand who your customer is that's going to purchase that, what they're looking for out of it. That's a learning curve too. That's growing a company at that point. It's not just creating it. If you want to go anywhere, you have to relate to the customer base
Well, yeah.
on a number of different levels.
Well, on that point, I guess the biggest thing is that we all want to make headphones that we want to sound better for ourselves. Like you want better
Yeah.
sounding headphones yourself, right?
That's been the litmus test.
So that's a big thing.
It's like, would we use this?
Yeah, it's like-
Would we want to listen to this in the long term?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do. That's what we use.
Yeah.
We made it. In some respects, we made this for ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
In my case, I've listened to all kinds of speakers over the years, and they're all different, and none of them really. I mean, like my Merlins are my favorite, but still, the flaws. And I can't fix them because I don't build the
Well, yeah.
woofers, I don't build the tweeters, and of course I know there's some things in the cabinet I can hear. I can certainly hear how the crossovers interact, and I can control some of that. But bottom line is, I didn't want to make a whole new speaker.
Yeah.
And I'm not the manufacturer. I'm not going to go fix their problems. So yeah, I think part of it was for us. It was more of a selfish act in some respects. It's like, I'd really like to have something we could listen to music with that does it for us.
Well, and that's ongoing because you still want better, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're always seeking more. Yeah, can we get a little more, squeak a little more out of here or there? All I can say if someone wants to start a headphone company is, you better ask yourself, do you really want to build a headphone? Because it's going to take some time and money, and in the end, you got to compete with guys that have been doing it a really long time. You know, and
That's a real challenge.
yeah, I mean, there's some good headphones out there now. So anyway, want to wrap it up?
Sure. If you like videos like this, feel free to subscribe, leave comments, letting us know what you'd like to see on future videos. And as always, see you next time.
See ya.